with the holidays just ending and a bunch of new players that may be returning to the Splatoon franchise are actually trying Splatoon 3 for the first time after the holidays, I think this type of video is probably the best timing of this video that I was going to be doing, at least recently. And that is going to be just telling you guys some of the worst weapons in Splatoon 3 right now. It's mainly for the newer players, and if you're kind of a returning to Splatoon, if you played Splatoon 1 or Splatoon 2, and you're first now returning to the series after you got the game probably for the holidays, or at least recently, or on Black Friday or something. So if you guys are like veteran players, you guys probably know what weapons are really bad. But I'm going to go through each category of the weapons in the game and just give a couple weapons that are just really bad, mainly to help the people rank up as well. So if you're a newer player, just kind of stay away from these weapons. It is not, they aren't unplayable weapons. This isn't going to be really for like a turf war at all. You can kind of play all these weapons in turf war if you really want to. This is mainly once you start getting into your ranked modes, and if you want to get better at the game, these are just weapons that just will not help you get better at the game. They are good to learn on, but they are some of the worst weapons in the game. Let's hop right into it. If you guys like these types of videos and you guys want more like this in the future, show some support, leave a like, subscribe, and share the video if you are new. Let's hop right into this. Starting out with the shooter category, the Arrow Spray MG. Now, the worst thing about this was it used to be the only arrow spray in the game, but now we actually also have the gold arrow spray, which is just leagues and bounds better than this thing, and it's just completely outshadowed. It has the reef slider, which isn't bad, but compared to Booyah Bomb on the gold arrow spray, there is just legit no reason of actually using this weapon. And it has the sprinkler, or it has the fizzy bomb, which is a good sub to have on this weapon, but this weapon already paints really well. And if you throw out a sub weapon on this, like you're in the same amount of time it takes to paint and charge up the fizzy bomb, you could already have painted that on the ground with your main weapon. So it just doesn't make sense with this entire kit, unfortunately. Another weapon in the shooter category is the Splooshomatic. Now this thing is awful. This actually might be one of the worst weapons in the game. It really is. It is a close range shooter weapon that the damage on it is really, really bad. You gotta get right up in somebody's face to actually do damage. You get outranged by everybody. It has the worst ult in the game, which is the worst special, which is Ultra Stamp. It is really risky on this weapon. It has Curling Bomb, but this weapon can't really use it apart from mobility, and it would really wish if it had like a different sub to actually poke from range, and that is the real problem with this weapon. And it's just really held back. There's just no reason to play this weapon at all unless you're just first starting the game. It's good to learn on, but if you want to get better at the game, you need to play something else. And there's no reason to play this weapon over something like a Splatter Shot or like a T-Tech Splatter Shot or a Splashomatic or like the majority of the other shooter weapons in this game. As for blasters, the only one I'm going to have on this list is the Clash Blaster. Now, there's going to be some people that say the Clash Blaster is really overpowered and it's really good. However, this is probably the weakest main weapon in the entire game, with one of the highest time to kills. It takes 4 indirects to actually kill somebody, and you need to land 2 direct shots to actually kill someone, which is still a really low time to kill compared to a lot of the other blasters in the game that either have longer range or just are better kits and just do their job way better with a main weapon that is actually useful. This thing is just really bad. It's good to learn on, and it's good to start the game with. But if you want to play a blaster, I would recommend playing any other blaster in the game. This weapon is just awful. It has a good kit and everything with the Trizuka and the Splat Bomb, but the real thing that's just holding it back is the main weapon. And until it ever gets buffed, which I don't think it'll ever will, it's just going to be one of the worst blaster in the game. We got the buckets. The only one I'm going to have on here is the Slosher Deco, just mainly because it's outshadowed by the other counterpart of the regular Slosher, which has a better kit and actually has a sub that's actually useful. This weapon was recently added to the game as well, and it has pretty much a useless sub with the angle shooter, which is kind of just worthless on this weapon. It has decent range, but it doesn't do enough damage, and it's not what you want on a slosher. The main weapon is good, don't get me wrong. Like, if you really want to use it, you can use it because the slosher itself is really good, but this kit is just really awful. And if you want to play buckets, you're better off just playing any of the other ones, like the sloshing machine, or even like the regular slosher, like the tri-slosher. We got the brushes, and the only brush I have on this list, because we don't really have that many brushes in the game, we only have 3 of them. The only one that is the worst one in the game, unfortunately, that I have to put on this list is the Ink Brush Novel. It's not good. And we recently got it. It has ink mine and it has alter stamp. Ink mine is okay, but the alter stamp on this weapon is just really bad. And the main reason why it's just on here is just because the regular ink brush and the octo brush are just a million times better. So if you want to play a brush, just play those two weapons. For the Splatling weapon category, the only one I have on this list is the Mini Splatling, mainly because the Zinc Mini Splatling got added to the game recently, and there's just no reason to play this Splatling over that one. And being that Ultra Stamp is still really bad, the Burst Bomb is really good on this weapon, but it's just held back by a really bad special, and it's just outshadowed by the other Zinc Mini Splatling that recently got added to the game. So if you want to play a Mini Splatling or any other Splatling, all the other ones are better, or even the Zinc Mini Splatling, there's just no reason to play this one. Next we got the Brella category of weapons. I'm going to actually have two on this. One of them because it's really buggy, and this one because it's really bad. The Undercover Umbrella might actually be one of the worst weapons in the game, alongside like the Flash Blaster and the Splusion-matic. The problem with it is its damage is really bad. It takes forever to do damage. It's not consistent at all, especially when you're trying to fight somebody in an actual match. The shield breaks too easily, and it's too easy to play around, especially if you're playing against a bunch of blasters or like duallys that are easily able to outmaneuver your shield and kill you behind your shield. And its kit is just awful. It has Ink Mine and it has Reef Slider, which don't really make much sense on this weapon because they just aren't really that good specials, and they would have rather have a bunch of other different ones. Overall, just a really weak weapon and a really weak kit. There's just no reason to play this weapon at all. For Brellas, like if you want to play a Brella, go play the Splat Brella. Like there's just no reason to play the majority of the Brellas right now, and I think it's actually one of the worst, like weakest weapon categories in the game, unfortunately, with these two. Maybe they'll fix the bugs with this weapon, but unfortunately they haven't fixed anything yet, and there's still some major bugs with this weapon that are also really holding it back. The Chargers, I have to put the Bamboozler on this list because the Bamboo is just really bad. If you're incredibly good with it, you can make it work, but it's just really bad, and it's an absolute former shell of itself since Splatoon 2 when it lost main power-up. It really is. There's just no reason to play this weapon, and they don't seem like they're going to buff it anytime soon. Its kit is mediocre at best. Killer Whale ain't too bad, and Auto Bomb ain't too bad. It's like the middle of the pack type, like average type kit, but the main weapon is just really lacking, and it's just not really that good. You're better off just playing anything else in the Charger category. Play a backline weapon like the Splat Charger or the Splatter Scope, or even like an E-Leader before you even pick up the Bamboozler. Personally, I gotta do it, but I really love the design of this weapon. Like, look how badass this weapon looks. It may want to have one of the coolest designs in the game for any weapon that we've recently gotten, but I have to put the brand new Snipe Raider 5H on this list as one of the worst Chargers in the game. The damage just isn't enough. 60 just isn't enough when you can go pick another Charger and one-shot somebody, like an E-Leader or like a Splat Charger or the Splatter Scope. And being that you're not able to even hold your charge while you go into squid form and actually move, it just holds it back even more significantly. And the kit with this weapon, having the sprinkler is okay. It's not really a bad special or a bad sub, but it's not really that good either. And then having Tacticooler on this weapon, which I think is the main thing that's holding the Snipe Raider back, at least with this kit, it's just completely useless with this weapon. You throw it down, it just doesn't make any use out of it because you're going to be standing stationary anyways. Tacticooler's good on the weapons that have a lot of mobility and want to move around and fight. You're going to be standing in around about the same area of the map, or pretty much still the entire game, just firing. So it's kind of a wasted special with this weapon, which sucks. Unfortunately, if you want to play a Charger, I would just recommend playing a Splatter Scope, the E-Leader, or the regular Splat Chargers. We're on to the dually category, and the only duallys I'm going to have in this category for this video are going to be the Gluga duallys. The kit isn't bad, the splash wall is okay, but the main thing is that the main weapons, which are the Gluga duallys, are just really bad. This entire kit ain't bad, like Booyah Bomb's okay and Splash Wall is okay, but the fire rate for the Glugas is just not fast enough, and they are way too ink hungry to actually fight with, unless you have a bunch of Ink Saver main and Ink Recovery in your builds. And that's just something you really can't do when you're playing duallys, because you want to run a lot of other stuff as well with your gear builds. Unfortunately, they're just waiting for a buff, and if you're really good with them, you can make them work, but out of all the duallys in the game, I think they're the ones that are the worst right now, and if you want to make them work, you got to be just absolutely crazy good at them to actually make them work. unfortunately, and that's why they're on this list. They're not really that good right now. So we got the roller category. I actually have two of them for this. We're going to talk about the newest one, the newest roller, and the newest addition to the game, the Big Swig roller. This thing is really bad. It is really, really bad. It paints really well, but the reason with this thing that is really, really bad is because its damage is awful. Like, this thing doesn't even one-shot on a vertical flick. Like, it barely does any damage. It does 30 damage from this range, when you can pick any other roller, and from this range you're pretty much one-shot somebody. The problem is it paints really well, and that's about all it does. It has a mediocre kit with the ink vac and the splash wall, which isn't really that good on this weapon because you lack damage. So even if you fight somebody and fight people, you got to be really close to them to fight anyways, and it just doesn't really make sense. Overall, I think this is probably the worst roller in the game right now. If you want a roller that can paint really well, then by all means you can play it, but apart from that, there's just really no reason to play it, and you're just better off playing any other roller. This list as well, I also have the carbon roller, mainly just because the carbon roller Deco got added to the game with the most recent update and the most recent batch of weapons. There's just no reason to play this weapon anymore. It has auto bomb, which isn't that good, and it has zip caster, which can be okay, but there's just no reason to play this weapon now when you have the Deco in the game that has a way better ult with Trizuka and everything, so, and the burst bomb. It's just overshadowed by its other variants, and the weapon is just pretty much completely useless, and there's just no reason to play this weapon. That's the main problem with this one. Last but not least, we got the Spitana category. The only one I'm going to have in this video that I think is really bad is the Spitana wiper. It's not because it paints bad. It actually can do really good, but the main things that are still holding this weapon back to making it pretty much unplayable and no reason to play this weapon is that it's really bad time to kill. Unless you're able to get in somebody's face and one-shot them like this. Like, it takes 4 hits to actually kill somebody, similar to Clash Blaster. And the DPS is not good, and you just get out DPS by almost all the other weapons that are being played way more than this thing, and you just lose a lot of your fights. That's the main thing this weapon struggles with. The damage is just not good enough on this weapon, and its special really isn't the greatest either. You can kind of make Ultra Stamp work, but it could use a better special. But it's mainly the main weapon itself. It's just not good at fighting, and it just kind of lacks damage, which makes it kind of unplayable. Last but not least, we have the Stringer category, which I'm not actually going to put a weapon from the Stringer category in this video, because I think they're actually both really solid. The Reflux 450 and the Tri-String Bow. They're actually really solid, and both of them actually have specific uses, so I will not have those in this video, because we only have 2 weapons from that weapon category. So just wanted to put that in the video in case people are wondering where they are. They're both solid enough to not really make it into this video. Apart from that, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys got some insight onto what's really bad right now. If the weapon really wasn't in this video, then it's probably good enough, or at least playable enough, and has a reason why you can actually play it and do well with it, to not make it into this video. So if you're newer to the game as well, let me know in the comments down below. I also do Splatoon 3 streams and stuff over on this channel. I do a lot of Splatoon 3 videos along with a bunch of other stuff, so if that interests you, feel free to subscribe and share the video so you guys not miss anything that's going to be coming up in the future. Got a lot of plans and stuff. We got a new update here coming up in about half a month, about 3-4 weeks. So going to be a lot of cool stuff with the next season launching and a bunch of other stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the future video. Thanks for stopping by.